The only job that is articulated in the U.S. Constitution is a job that is critical to preserving our constitutional representative republic. That job is a free press. But what happens when the press largely becomes one of the biggest threats to the republic, to the Constitution, and to your liberty, security, and prosperity? You don't have to wonder, folks. We're living it. The leftist press, a clear and present danger. That's my focus in today's preamble. The press is covering for Kamala just like they did for Joe Biden. And they're trying to create a narrative that says this election is about President Trump and not about the Marxist cabal that has been in charge over the last disastrous 4 years. I can say without reservation that the majority of the press is dishonest, driven by the need to install an all-powerful government, and antithetical to human freedom. They have shown they will lie or tolerate lies from leftists to achieve these goals. For the last 20 years, for example, Tim Walz has lied about his service, claiming he quit with a rank in the U.S. military that he didn't achieve. He's also been claiming to have served in combat. These examples of stolen valor, what some say is a clear violation of the stolen valor law, were dismissed away by CNN's left-wing maven, Dana Bash.
Donald Trump didn't lie about serving in the military. He didn't say that he went to Vietnam when he didn't. This is the problem. I don't criticize anybody. Whether they served our country or not, I think it's honorable to serve, but obviously a lot of people have reasons for not serving. I criticize somebody for embellishing their record, for lying, saying, I went to war. Dana, do you think that it's a problem that he said, I went to war, but he didn't actually? That seems to be a problem to me.
Well, they've corrected that.
That's right. After 20 years of lying during various campaigns for Congress and governor, Tim Walz scrubbed the Harris website and his social media, and CNN is willing to forgive these lies and all the ill-gotten gains from those lies. In fact, Tim Walz used his lie about his service to try and steal Americans' right of self-defense, falsely claiming that weapons of war are available to American citizens. Weapons of war he claimed he used on the battlefield, but didn't. In case you're keeping track at home, the Democrats' VP candidate lied about his own service, then built upon that lie to steal your rights. And CNN is okay with all of it. Speaking of CNN, the Karl Rove Never Trump network, the network that has abandoned their defining fair and balanced moniker, shows us why. Fox recently published an op-ed featuring a CNN contributor, Adam Crying Kinzinger. In the op-ed, Kinzinger blasts President Trump and Senator J.D. Vance in what appears to be an attempt to defend Governor Walz and his multiple stolen valor violations. Let that sink in. Fox is embracing left-wing CNN contributors to bash Trump and defend leftist lies. They did so even after Crying Kinzinger said this about the former Fair and Balanced network.
But obviously, no one's saying everyone was violent, but the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, here's how Fox does it, because, and particularly Tucker, because they realize that no matter what they say, their audience is vested in that tribal narrative. That audience is invested in the fact, because they've been programmed by Tucker Carlson for many years. They've been invested in the fact that you have to pick your side and stick with it, no matter what the cost is. Suspend your belief, suspend your disbelief. Just, trust us. We're going to tell you, we're going to give you the talking points and the arguments.
Yeah, so naturally, Fox wants him to write an op-ed on their pages. Doesn't this show that the agenda-driven press will do anything, even give voice to their staunchest crazy critics, anything to stop the America First agenda from ever returning to the White House? And these leftists in the press, they have no shame. Let's have a gander at CBS Narrative, formerly known as CBS News. This is how CBS reported on President Trump when he rolled out his no tax on tips pledge 2 months ago. In a tweet, CBS Narrative wrote, former President Donald Trump vowed to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years, according to a nonpartisan watchdog group. First, notice that CBS Narrative couldn't care less about the working poor. Their main concern was to make sure government has all the money in the world for all of its crazy overspending. But look at how negative they were to Trump. So when Kamala stole President Trump's policy because the woman has no earthly idea on how to be pro-American and is completely devoid of ideas that could benefit our people, you'd expect CBS Narrative's reporting to be equally negative for the same policy. But here's what CBS said about the same policy, this time from the unqualified left-wing extremist Kamala Harris. Quote, Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position, saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers, end quote. First, CBS lied, saying the policy was new. It wasn't. Trump had it months before. But CBS was over the moon when Kamala proposed it. Of course, CBS narrative didn't mention a slight but ever so crucial detail about Kamala's new position. It's a flip-flop. You see, Kamala tweeted that she was proud to have been the tie-breaking vote on massive overspending called the Inflation Reduction Act, a bill that didn't reduce inflation. Inside the bill was authorization for the Internal Revenue Service to go after people making tips and wring more cash out of them for government. CBS narrative neglected to tweet about that. But CBS's ingrained and left-wing unfairness are nothing compared to what transpired yesterday in the White House press briefing. As you all know, President Trump sat down for a discussion with the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, last night. According to Musk, the interview has over 1 billion views. But when a Washington Post employee found out that Trump was going to talk directly to the people, this unfair Marxist and fake reporter asked this question from Karine Jean-Luc Picard. Watch.
Elon Musk is slated to interview Donald Trump tonight on X. I don't know if the president is going to tune in. Feel free to say if he is or not. But I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue. It's a America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in that?
Okay, there's a lot going on there. First, the gall of a man who makes his living under the First Amendment to the United States Constitution to turn around and advocate that right be stolen away from President Trump, using the heavy hand of government. Disgraceful, right? Hypocrisy and disgust are too mild to describe such idiocy. Secondly, the reporter was black. It is not lost on me, your liberty-loving Latino, that there were people in America, also on the left, who wanted to stop free speech when it came to the abolition of slavery, and later the Democrats' Jim Crow South. Had American free speech not existed then, I shudder to think what our country would be like. The Washington Post and their reporter are prime examples of how big a threat leftists are to our rights in this representative republic, and their support for anti-American censorship is an odd play for a paper that claims to hate the idea of democracy dying in darkness. But that's exactly what happens when the Washington Post and the left-wing press quashes free speech. But if the WashPo's leftist reporter's prescription sounds familiar, it should. Left-wing elites in the EU, equally committed to making sure the America First agenda is never implemented again, warned Elon Musk that they would come after him if he allowed President Trump the ability to speak without a left-wing filter to the billions on the X platform. And that brings me to we the people. It's time we were awake and realized who the enemies of mankind are. I think real Americans get it. A CNN anchor who laughingly claims to be a journalist appeared on Stephen Colbert's alleged comedy show. The two had this exchange, and listen to the reaction from the audience.
Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. No, I know. CNN makes a... I know.
Is that supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is.
Yes, it is. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. The press is dominated by Democrats, not journalists. They are pushing a left-wing narrative over news and lying to their audiences on a daily basis when they claim that they are fair and objective. Largely, the Democrats in the press are not traditional Kennedy Democrats. They are the new Omar, AOC, Tim Walz, Kamala Harris Democrats. Enemies to free speech, enemies to facts and the truth, enemies to our American traditions. In short, they are the enemy. of we the people.